Everybody's got a list until you actually make them rank the top five books of all time. You'll hear the usual suspects: To Kill a Mockingbird, The Great Gatsby, all sitting pretty at the top like there's no debate. But then it happens. Someone drops a wild card. The Hunger Games, Game of Thrones. Now the room's tense. Eyes are squinting. The literary elite are clutching their pearls. But here's the thing: storytelling isn't just about dusty classics and highbrow prose. So today on Yada Yada, we're throwing out the rules and ranking the top five books of all time. Expect some masterpieces, some madness, and at least one pick that'll have people asking, seriously, that made the list? Let's get into it. This is Yada Yada episode 5. How are we today?
We are doing pretty good. I'm excited to talk a little literature.
Yeah, I'm sure you're very excited. This is not one of the topics that I'm super knowledgeable in, but I am actually, believe it or not, excited to hear your picks
Yeah.
because you are someone who is more intelligent when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, pun
Well, that's
intended,
high praise.
books
I
is
appreciate
good
that.
at books.
Ah,
And
it
yes,
was
he
meant
has
to
heard
be.
that before.
And yes, my mom is a librarian. For everybody in the chat wondering, that is
Yeah, fun
correct.
fact. And no, that's not a joke. That's an actual truthful statement. All
Oh,
right. Well, I hear, speaking of books, I hear there's a new Harry Potter um, series, movie coming out,
there
maybe?
sure is. Yeah. Let me pull up this little article I have from Variety because are you a Harry Potter fan?
I am. I
I
consider myself a fan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. My family's a big fan. We've been to Universal multiple times to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and we had a lot of fun both times. Um, and I have to confess, I haven't read the whole series. I've read books. I read the first book twice because I thought I'll read the series completely this time, and then I got a couple books in and didn't finish it, and then I reread the first book to finish the whole series. Still didn't finish it, and that's more my fault than me actually not enjoying the books. But I'm a huge fan of the movies, and I am actually super. I'm one of the people that's actually super excited for this new TV show for a couple reasons. First of all, I hear it's going to be the most expensive TV show of all time.
Well, that's how you know it's going to be good.
That might not be a measure of quality in the script, but I can guarantee you that that means that there's going to be some pretty cool looking spells being cast on the screen, some good
Ooh,
visual effects. So
yep.
if nothing else, we'll get some cool magic on screen, and I'm here for that.
So
Uh,
it's already the most expensive TV show.
I believe so. I know they're building sets right now. I've seen like some pics of like the Hogwarts set that they've been building and all that stuff. I think they're going to start shooting pretty soon. They just cast the main trio of Harry, Ron, and Hermione, and I have a little article here from Jordan Morale on Variety. And he says HBO's Harry Potter TV series has officially found its Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Dominic McLaughlin will be playing the role of Harry Potter. Arabella Stanton is Hermione Granger, and Alistair Stout, it's a sweet name, is Ron Weasley. Obviously, all three unknown,
Correct.
just like the original three were Daniel
Yep.
Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint. They were all unknown at the time, and they kind of launched into superstardom because of that franchise. And I'm sure if everything goes to plan, these three will as well. But it does say that more than 30,000 actors audition for these lead roles since
Oh my
HBO.
word.
Yeah, since HBO launched an open casting call last fall, more than 30,000 actors auditioned for the lead roles, and these three came on top, which has gotta feel pretty good just out of the
Yeah,
bat.
to be the ones that are picked, That's an
Yeah,
amazing
that
feeling,
that
I
is
bet.
some yeah, that's some real sorting hat stuff right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, filming is expected to begin. Let me see here. Da, da, da. My computer's going a little crazy. But I think filming is supposed to start in the summer.
Okay.
So
So pretty soon.
yeah, so pretty soon. And I am looking forward to it. I know a lot of people are kind of skeptical just because the movies were a pretty good adaptation. Again, I didn't read the whole series, but I know there's a whole bunch of people that are just the movie fans, and it's
Yeah.
one of the highest grossing franchises in history
Yeah.
at the box office. So
Well, I
so
always I always worry about like, well, not worry, but I don't really like when I know Daniel Radcliffe is Harry Potter and then now somebody else is Harry Potter.
it's gonna take a little bit to get Daniel Radcliffe out of your mind when you're watching
Yeah.
this new Harry, and it's
Like
unfair to
even
this new
even
guy,
like
you
with
know?
Spider-Man and
Right.
like movies like that where, oh, this guy is now Spider-Man, or no, now this guy is Spider-Man. Like, I don't know. I think that's an obstacle that TV shows, or even if they're adding, they're continuing a series like a Avengers or a Star Wars or something like that, and they're trying to replace main characters with other people. I think that's a huge hurdle that fans of the series or the movie have to overcome. So that should be interesting,
It should be interesting, and
especially
one
with a no-name actor.
especially, and but one thing that I would like to say for all the naysayers out there, for all the people that are cautious about this new series or that don't want to give it a chance, at least give these new actors a chance because I'm sure it is tough being whatever however old they are, probably 10 years old, 9 years old at the time of casting, with kind of the weight of the world on your shoulders, you know. And Jake Lloyd playing little Anakin Skywalker in the Phantom Menace got tons of hate, and he was just doing what George Lucas told him to. If you go back and watch the first couple Harry Potter movies, they act like kids. They act like they're surrounded by legendary actors, just kind of just walking through their lines. And you can't blame them because they're kids. So I will say, for the first couple of seasons, it might be tough to get on board because you're gonna have to get used to new child actors playing your favorite characters. Um, but give them a chance, and we might end up with something pretty cool, like what happened with the movies. So,
So is it based? It's based at Hogwarts in
yeah,
the.
so from what I've read, each season is going to be an adaptation of one of the books.
Oh,
So
okay.
there are, I believe, 7 books.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 7 books because there were 8 movies, but they split the last book into two.
Right.
So I don't know if they're going to do that with the series or not, but I think they plan on each season adapting one book. So
Interesting.
it will
So
give
I
us
wonder.
at the end. I mean, at the end of the day, we're gonna have if they do end up adapting all 7 books, we're gonna have tons more time with this cast than we do with the movie cast, just
Yeah,
because
for
the
sure.
length of a TV show, you know. So it will be interesting to see if this inspires a new generation to kind of fall in love with Harry Potter. We'll see.
Well, and I wonder if they're like they're gonna go Game of Thrones type and stick with the same, like the Game of Thrones. They had the same actors all the way through, and you could see how they grew up, you know, in
I,
real life and
right.
in the show. So that
I,
would
I
be
would I would
interesting.
imagine that's the plan, just because
Yeah,
I mean these kids are going to continue growing. I mean they're going to start this when they're 10 and end up 18 years old.
yeah,
You know,
right.
it's gonna be pretty cool to see him over that time kind of grow into
Yeah,
adults, similar to the Stranger Things cast. You know how
yeah,
we kind of watch them grow up. So it'll be cool. We'll see.
yeah. That kind of gets me excited.
Yeah, and then also I saw that one of the executive producer and director of the show is Mark Mylod, and y'all might not be familiar with who that is, but I'm super excited about that name because if y'all didn't watch, I believe his last episode, episode 4 of Yada Yada, my favorite or my second favorite TV show of all time is Succession, and he happened to have won an Emmy for his directing in Succession.
Ooh,
So I'm a big fan of his, and I'm excited to see what he can do with some Harry Potter magic. We'll see.
yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, stay on the lookout. HBO Max, no longer Max, but HBO Max. Do we have a name yet? Is there a name popped up for this series?
I think they announced it as just Harry Potter.
Really?
I don't know if they're gonna do, like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone as the first season and then
Oh, yeah.
keep adapting the books, or if it's just gonna be Harry Potter season one, two, three, four, five, you know.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
we'll
It's very
we'll
creative. Harry Potter. That's a
right,
that's a
yeah.
very
Yeah.
creative TV
Nice job,
series name.
everybody.
Yeah, somebody got paid to do that.
Right.
All right, well there you have it. So speaking of books, it's not a coincidence that we talked about that to start. You heard in our cold open, we're gonna rank. We've been doing a series now on the movies, TV shows, and now books that we would take with us to a desert island if we were capable of doing such. And it's kind of turned into basically our favorite movies, our favorite TV shows, and probably going to turn into our favorite books
Right.
of all time. But the idea behind it still reigns true. So episode 5, we're going to talk our top books. We're sticking with 5. We'll obviously have some honorable mentions, and we'll jump right into it. And go back and forth like we've been doing. Hopefully, you've listened and liked and followed. If you haven't already, go back and do those things. Um, we go over our top movies and our top TV shows. You probably don't agree, and we probably don't care. So, leave some comments, leave a like, and we'll get back to you. Probably not, but maybe. All right, top books. I'm going to start. Here's for those of you that don't know us. I feel like every listener that is listening right now probably knows who we are. But once we get bigger into the real world and you people don't know who we are, um, for those that don't know us, I am not a huge book reader. I have read books and I do enjoy reading books actually. But the books that I would take to a desert island are not the books that I typically read. I like to read self improvement books. I like to read books where you learn a little bit, or I like to read like biographies, especially about sports people. Um, and I like to read, faith based books, Mitch Albom and those kind of books. So the books that I would take to a desert island, those probably won't keep me entertained very long, and they're kind of pointless if I'm on a desert island. So I switched up my I guess rankings a little bit based on that idea, but we'll get into that a little bit when I talk about mine. But I've only got one honorable mention. I'm sure you have more. Like I said earlier, you're a little more invested into this, but the only honorable mention I have is the Hunger Games, and I haven't I haven't even read the Hunger Games to be honest with you. But it's one of those that the movie were freaking good, and I really enjoyed the movies, and the movies are based off the book, and so the books have got to be good. And so those would be if I could take a book to a desert island. That's kind of right on um, the outside of my top 5. So
Gotcha.
what's some honorable mentions on your side?
So for my honorable mentions, I have one book that actually two books that I haven't completed all the way. That I've kind of over like a whole year just been kind of slowly going back to these books, maybe reading a chapter, um, and then kind of putting it away for a while and then coming back. Um, and those two books kind of go hand in hand. The first one's Moby Dick by
Ooh,
Herman Melville. I think it's probably if I mean if you look at rankings of the greatest books by an American author, I think Moby Dick is usually near the top of the list for good reason. That first chapter when call me Ishmael and you're introduced to the character of Ishmael, it's like you're reading something that was written today. Um, and it wasn't. I mean, it was written. Ooh, I'd have to look that up actually. but I think
Keep
it's been
going. I'll
about,
do it.
yeah, I think it's been about 100 years. Um, but when you're introduced to Ishmael, he does feel like a modern character. You immediately sympathize with him, and he's also pretty hilarious. If you can kind of get on his wavelength in that first chapter, I think you're going to enjoy yourself throughout the full book. Like I said, I haven't finished it, and I do plan to. But there are some chapters. The only thing about Moby Dick is there are some chapters that are just completely about whaling, about the process of whaling, some just about the anatomy of whales. And I'm not that interested in the anatomy of whales. But I was told by someone that has read the book to think of those not as whale facts, but as Ishmael facts, which is the main character of the book. And so that's a neat way to think about it, and I'll try to do that going forward. But yeah, one of my honorable mentions is Moby Dick. My second honorable mention is Blood Meridian. Excuse me, Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. I actually have a little copy of it right here for all you people that are watching us, and not just
There you
listening.
go.
Um, but it is also along with I think along with Herman Melville in 100 years when they're talking about the greatest American authors of all time, I think Cormac McCarthy is going to be in that discussion. And when you read his prose, it is it is pretty evident by the first page, um, just why that is. I want to read just a quick excerpt. um, it says this is the first page. It just says, "See the child. He is pale and thin. He wears a thin and ragged linen shirt. He stokes the scullery fire. Outside lie dark turned fields with rags of snow and darker woods. Beyond that harbor, yet a few last wolves. His folk are known for hewers of wood and drawers of water, but in truth his father has been a schoolmaster. He lies in drink. He quotes from poets whose names are now lost. The boy crouches by the fire and watches him." And his prose is pretty great. It's kind of got its own rhythm to it. He doesn't use his punctuation is very strange. Sometimes there's no periods, and sometimes there's a whole page that just keeps going on, and you're wondering where the periods are, the punctuation is. But when you read it out loud, you don't, because it sounds great. So that's my second honorable mention, and that's another one that I plan to finish one day. And then
Interesting.
my third honorable mention, I only have three, is a short story that I've read quite a few times. It's called Neighbor Rossiki, and it's by Willa Cather, who's another great American author. I guess that's kind of the theme of my honorable mentions is great American authors. But it's a short story about a farmer, and for whatever reason, it's kind of the only. It's really one of the only reading experiences that I have, like where I get emotional while I'm reading it. So that's that. Yeah. So if y'all, and it just kind of touches the heartstrings, um, and it's a great book. I mean, it's a great short story. So if y'all haven't read Neighbor Rossiki, y'all should look it up. It's a quick read, so it won't take too much of your time. But those are
There you
my
go.
three honorable mentions.
Yeah, Moby Dick, 1851. It was written.
A little over
So
100 years. How about that?
it's been around a while.
It sure has. But I'm telling you, when
And
you read that first page, it doesn't sound like it's that old.
yeah,
It's pretty crazy.
it's not like Shakespeare type stuff where it's hard to understand.
Right. No, no, not at all.
That kind of goes back to our movie topic with black and white movies.
Mm.
If you're still watching black and white movies today, then it must be pretty good because a lot of people can't get past that. So if we're still reading a book that was written in 1851, then it must be a pretty good book. And obviously, anybody who's been around books and libraries and maybe even like TV shows and movies, they've probably mentioned the book Moby Dick before. You've probably heard of it before. The big white whale, maybe even some I don't know hints or people mentioning the white whale. That's what they're mentioning. That's what they're talking about is Moby Dick. So that's that's good to know. I've never read Moby Dick. It's a very long book, and when I see long books, I get a little nervous and think there's no way I'm going to finish that. But
And that's kind of how, I mean, that's kind of how I am too, to be honest with you. It's just such a big time commitment.
yeah,
But once I kind of convince myself that it's okay to just kind of pick it up here and there over a year, and just kind of, slowly read along with it and get as much as I can out of that first read, um, then at least I'll have enough to come back to the parts that I like the most, later in my life.
right.
So that's
Well,
kind
and
of how I'm taking.
yeah,
Yeah.
something that helps me with books too. I try to read. I try to have a good, and I'm sure everybody does this. You can't just stop in the middle of a story or in the middle of a chapter. And so books that have shorter chapters, I feel like I read better, or maybe quicker
Mhm.
because it takes 5 minutes to read a chapter, and then I got to go do something now, and then I can just pick it up later instead of it takes me 30 minutes to read a chapter, and now I'm stuck for 30 minutes trying to finish this chapter before I can go do anything else, and then golly, it's another 30 minutes that I've got to sit and read. And it's kind of like TV shows and movies. Like, it's not hard to sit down and watch an episode of a TV show, but it's a little more difficult to sit down and watch a 2.5 hour movie. So,
Yeah,
but I
very true.
think books are kind of the same way. And I think that might be a reason why I read the books that I read, because a lot of times they are kind of short, shorter chapters. But um, let's get into the top five. My top five. I'm not going to have a whole lot to say about a lot of them. I have read, I think, all but one of them, and the one that I haven't read is my number five. So number five for me, and I'm going strictly off of some of you listeners probably have told me to read these. People in my family on the other side of my family have told me to read these. Um, but and there's movies that go along with it. That's something I also judge with books too. If they've got spin-offs and they've got movies and they've got TV shows, they're probably pretty good books. And these have those. And number five for me is Lord of the Rings. Never read them, and for those of you that are watching, he is shocked that I put Lord of the Rings. He's shocked that I put Lord of the Rings at number five.
I am
Um,
more I am even more shocked that we have the exact same number five.
oh, there you go. See, I
I,
was expecting you to have it higher.
well, the only thing is I haven't fully read Lord of the Rings. I'm actually
Wow.
I know all you Tolkien nerds are
Yeah.
screaming
All
at me
you Doug
from the chat.
Bryants out there are not happy
All
with
all of the
books,
Doug Bryants are pretty angry at me. I
except
am a big fan of
one
the
of them,
movies,
maybe.
and I finally decided to commit this year to the Lord of the Rings. I've tried before, and I got caught at the House of Tom Bombadil. And
Ah, dadgum. I hate that House of Tom
good
Bombadil.
night, Tom Bombadil. Yeah, just stop singing, buddy. But but uh but I made it through Tom Bombadil, and I am in.
I can't get past that name. I've never, like I said, I've never read them, and I've never seen the movies either, and I've never heard that name before. But it sounds like a Doug Dum Dong Dimmadome in his million-gallon hat or whatever. All Fairly Odd Parents.
Uh, but
uh,
yeah, Tom's quite the character. But I did make it through Tom Bombadil, and I'm at Rivendell. I am chilling with Elrond at Rivendell. So I
so
am
for
I am
those that
happy to
don't
be
know what
here.
that means, what does that mean?
So for those that don't know what that means, and this is just based on my knowledge of the movies, from
Uh
what I
huh.
think's about to happen. But Sam and Frodo and Merry and Pippin have made it out of the Shire with the ring. They got to the Prancing Pony, or they got past the forest with Tom Bombadil. They made it to the Prancing Pony Inn. There they met Aragorn, right? Who's going by the name of Strider at this time. And Aragorn kind of escorts them to Rivendell, which is the place where the elves live. So for all you people that have seen the movies before, y'all will know that Rivendell is where kind of the Fellowship, or what I assume is going to happen the same in the book, anyways. Rivendell is where the Fellowship forms, They kind of decide who's going to go on who's going to go with Frodo on his quest to Mordor to destroy the ring. And so I'm excited to meet the rest of the characters that I love from the movies. I've met quite a few. I haven't met Gimli or Legolas yet, or Boromir. So I'm excited to meet those three fellas, those three members of the Fellowship. And I don't really know if Elrond has spoken a word yet, but he has been chilling at his table, and his description
So
is pretty cool. So that's
so
what.
we haven't read the book, we haven't seen the movie.
Mhm.
So this where you're at in terms of length of the book, where
Oh,
is it?
so the book I'm reading the a version that has all of them stacked into one book, The Lord of the
Okay.
Rings,
All right.
which I think is kind of how Tolkien intended it, is kind of just to be one big book,
Yeah.
and it's broken up into three big parts. So the Fellowship of the Ring is the first one. You could say the first book.
Okay.
The Two Towers is the second book, and then the Return of the King. So where I am right now is halfway through the first book.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
yeah, I'm halfway. I just finished book. It's actually broke. Each book is broken into book one, book two. So I just finished book one of the Fellowship of the Ring inside of the
Gotcha.
Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So what movie? I mean, I know Fellowship of the Ring is a movie. Is so? Are you done with the first movie?
no, I
Maybe.
am. I guess they did pretty well adapting it. I guess because I'm about halfway through the first movie.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
the inciting incident has already happened. Frodo knows, or he doesn't quite know. I don't think he knows he's going to go to Mordor yet, where I am in the book. Um, but I feel like Gandalf knows, just by the way he's talking to him. But yeah, so Frodo hasn't yet received his full quest. He's received like his initial quest to go to Rivendell, and he just accomplished that. But now I think he's about to get his full quest to take the ring to Mordor, into the heart of evil, into hell, you might say. Don't give us an explicit rating, Spotify, for me saying that.
Nah, it's in the Bible.
uh, but yeah, so he's about to receive his full quest to go to Mordor and try to destroy the ring, which I don't think will happen until the end of the last book. So he's going to be on his journey for a while, and I'm excited to get going, kill some orcs.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you got to watch out for the orcs. They will get you.
Yep.
Um, all right, Lord of the Rings. I was not expecting us to have the same. I expect us to maybe have a few of the same books in our top five, just because I probably picked just the most popular books.
I
Um,
know, me neither.
but I was
That's
not
pretty. But
expecting Lord of the
I
Rings to
needed.
be the same.
Yeah, I needed a big epic fantasy, and I just happened to be reading Lord of the Rings at the time when we decided to do this topic, so that kind of worked out. But there's really no, I mean, Tolkien is kind of the granddaddy of fantasy novels. I don't think any of the modern stuff would exist without him.
Yeah.
So it's
Well, and
pretty
even
good.
for a
Pretty good.
non book reader, non those type of book readers as myself, I know that name,
Mm,
and so that says a lot. I think that I know the
right, right.
name of the author of the book. That says a lot. So, all right, let's get on to number four. What's your number four?
My number four is the novel that I have reread the most in my lifetime. And that would be The Great Gatsby.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
The Great Gatsby. And
He's got it.
I got it, and I'm having some fun reading out of these books. Let me tell you. So I'm gonna read a little. I'm gonna
Please
read
do.
the first little the first page, not the first page, but the first paragraph of The Great Gatsby for you people maybe that
Get
haven't
on
read
it.
it. I'm sure everyone's been exposed to it from high school,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry if that made you hate this book. As a
Yeah.
former English teacher, I do apologize.
Yep.
But yeah, let me read this.
Do it.
In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in the world haven't had the advantages that you've had. And I think that's quite a way to start a book. Pretty humbling way to start a book. And I think it leads kind of greatly into, it's a bad way to phrase that, but it leads it leads very well into the theme of exploring, the American, not kind of the American dream, but the kind of the fool's gold of the American dream, and Gatsby's such an interesting character. The narrator Nick is such an interesting character. Um, the way F. Scott Fitzgerald writes is very pleasing to read. He kind of it's a short book, like the pages turn very quickly. It's my copy is only 180 pages. So in my opinion, it's very rereadable.
Yeah.
Um, which is a kind of a rare quality, at least in the books that I have, because I don't reread a whole lot of books, because it is such a time commitment.
Yeah.
But The Great Gatsby is one that I've probably read maybe 4 or 5 times. Um, obviously a couple times for school, but a couple times for pleasure as well. And I love the themes it explores. I love the characters, and I love the prose, and that's a pretty good combo in a book. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I just go off of, I think I've read it. I think I maybe read it in high school.
yeah,
My
yeah.
English,
Most people are exposed to it in high school.
yeah, my
Toby.
English teacher, if she's listening right now, she's probably laughing at me because we had some fun times in our English class, and it did not involve reading books.
Right.
But yeah, I know for a fact I've seen the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, and
Yeah.
so that when you're talking about the book, I'm imagining the movie and thinking, all right, yeah, I kind of know what he's talking about. And the
And
movie was
Toby,
good.
by the
I
way,
mean, yeah, and it's got Toby in it.
if you're such a big
Um,
Toby fan.
yeah, big old Toby Maguire in his crying meme. Um, but I have seen the movie. The movie was good. And so I kind of base it off of that. And it's got two big name actors in it. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio, Toby Maguire. So that just goes to show that it was a big movie at the time it was made. Also, if they're giving the roles to those two guys. Um, so since you've read it and I'm assuming you've seen the movie, what's your take? Are you a movie guy or a book guy?
I do like the movie a lot. I think the casting's great. I especially like Joel Edgerton in the role that he plays. But I gotta go with the book. I mean, it's in my top five. The movie does not come close to my top five movies. So
It's a good way to put it.
yeah, so I'll go with the book. And I feel like I tend to lean towards the book as far as book versus movie adaptations.
Yeah,
But I also think that it has a lot to do with what you're exposed to first, because
true. I agree with
because
that.
yeah, because when I like for me, I watched the Harry Potter movies before I read the first and second Harry Potter books, and so sometimes I was sitting there reading it thinking, man, I could be watching Harry Potter right now, you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
just because those are, and then when I read the book, I imagine the characters from the movie, and
Yep.
sometimes that's a blessing. Sometimes it's kind of annoying because they might be described differently in the book, and so you have to create your own picture, and it's kind of this weird amalgamation of the two.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I tend to lean towards book adaptations, and I do like the Great Gatsby book more than the movie. No
Yeah.
no no shade to Toby or Leo though, because they're two of my favorites.
Yeah. We'll have them on the pod at some point.
I'm sure.
Um, my number four is you. It's I'm gonna assume it's not in your top five, but it's probably it's of all the novels. I haven't read very many novels, just on my own, other than in school. Um, but of all the novels that I've read, and you could probably maybe correct me on this, but when I think of novel, I think of a story. It's telling a story, and it's really it's a long book. Um,
Okay.
so my number four is the novel that I read the fastest because I just couldn't put it down. It's a I think it's a really good written book, and it plays to my liking. It's an Army U.S. patriotic book. It does have a movie. It does have a movie based off of this book. Um, actually, the book might be off of the movie. You might know that more than I would, but there are a movie and a book for this. And the number 4 for me is Lone Survivor.
Okay.
Yeah,
Lone Survivor.
it's a long one. It's I actually don't own it. I borrowed the book from my brother and probably read it in. It's a pretty lengthy book, and I probably read it in maybe a week.
Really?
It was one of those books that, like, man, I cannot put this down. What's going to happen next? What are they going to find next? Who's going to encounter what Taliban next?
Hmm.
And it's really good. It's very entertaining. It's hard for me to say a book is entertaining because it's all in your imagination, basically. But I think that has a lot to say with the author and how they wrote the book. If they can get a non-novel reader like myself to not put their book down, um, that says a lot about how they wrote it. So the movie, it has Mark Wahlberg. That's kind of the main guy. He's the lone survivor in the movie, but it's based in the Middle East, and this group of crazy, impressive military Navy SEAL people are going to do some crazy, impressive stuff and shoot a lot of people and um, take on a lot of challenges. Um, and it's just it's a really good book. I love the military type books and the military type movies. In a different life, I was a Navy SEAL, or in a different life, I would be a Navy SEAL, but I'm nowhere near tough enough or athletic or mentally tough, physically tough to do those things. And that's probably why I have a big appreciation for those guys.
There are
Um,
very few that have that kind of mental toughness. So
yeah, it's pretty impressive. So my number 4 is Lone Survivor, because I have read it, number 1, and it was the fastest novel that I have ever read. I think I've actually read it twice, to be honest. Um, so
wow.
number 4 for me is Lone Survivor. And book, movie, I'm a big Mark Wahlberg guy too, so I might go movie with this one. Um, but I don't know. I read that book really fast, so I might be a book guy with that one too. I'm not sure. Um,
I have not. I've seen the movie. I have not read the book.
I
Um,
would recommend it.
yeah, yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds pretty
I
good. I need to
when
give it a
you're
go. I kind of forgot it was a book just because
yeah
when the movie came out, I knew like I've seen interviews with the guy that Mark Wahlberg is portraying in the movie.
yep.
But I had not have not read the book, so I need to give that a go. Go get that
Marcus
in the public
Luttrell.
library.
That
Yeah,
would be the name of the lone survivor. So shout out to Marcus Luttrell. I believe he actually helped. I'm kind of looking at it right now. He did help write it, the actual book. So it's firsthand accounts of what's going on. Obviously, they kind of tell a story as
mm,
they're writing this book, but it says the eyewitness account of Operation Red Wing and the lost heroes of SEAL Team 10, and it's written by the guy that didn't die, by the lone survivor.
right.
So you're getting accurate information. It's not just some author that thought of stuff. Um, and so that kind of makes it good too, because it's kind of like a true story.
And
Um,
I was driving to I can't remember where I was driving to, but on Memorial Day I was listening to the radio. I guess it was yesterday. Um, but I was listening to the radio and I heard something about Michael Murphy, one of the SEAL team members, like maybe the leader of that team.
yeah,
Um, but I heard something about him in the news, and so while you were talking, I kind of looked up an article from the New York Post. But I think I found it. But recently on Memorial Day, it looks like I'm reading this article. Hundreds of military members and Long Islanders took part in a grueling, emotional event Saturday to commemorate the extraordinary grit of Navy Lieutenant Michael Murphy, a slain SEAL from Pachogue. Is that how you say that? Pachogue?
no idea.
Whose heroics were worthy of Hollywood. It looks like they all did like a big some kind of run or maybe an Ironman event or something
Uh,
to commemorate Michael Murphy. But that's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a great book. I probably will read it again. I'll 100% watch the movie again, just because it's easier to do. But
Right.
yeah, coming in at number 4 for me is Lone Survivor. Um, Number 3, we're getting into our top 3 now. I'm currently reading, kind of hinted at it in our TV show episode, our last episode. Currently reading it. I've got about 20 pages left, maybe, of the
Ooh,
first book.
right there.
Yeah, I'm almost there. And then I've got the second one sitting on the shelf right behind me, just collecting dust, waiting to be opened. I got it for Christmas, and it is now almost June, and I have not opened it. So, but I am working on it. It's on my bedside table and sitting next to the couch during the day and things like that. So it's in my line of sight to where I don't forget about it. But um, this series is not done. It's a series that has yet to be finished by the author. It does have a TV show, and that number 3 for me is Game of Thrones. We talked about it last episode. How Game of Thrones was my number 2. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched our last episode, but it was my second favorite TV show of all time. And the book is at number 3. So that goes to show you, for all you people out there who have not watched Game of Thrones, read Game of Thrones, it's up there. So I would recommend it. It is a little mature, and so I would make sure you're aware of that before you do. But um, it's hard to think I'm not going to finish this series because it's not done, and that's kind of discouraging when you're trying to read a series. Like right now, I'm on the first
Right.
book, and I'm thinking I'm going to get to the last book, and it's not even. I can't keep going because there isn't a last book.
Yeah.
So that's a little discouraging, but so far so good. I mean, it's up there, number 3. So my number 3 is Game of Thrones.
Nice. I have read I haven't read the whole first book, but I have started it. I started it. It's probably been a year now, and I did get through. I don't know. I'm not half, but maybe a third.
Yeah,
And I did really enjoy it. I can't remember what came up to make me put it down. Um, but I do want to get back into it because I was a fan of the TV show. And I I am a fan of the book as well. I like that the book is kind of like they break it up. He or the author, or I guess it's George R. R. Martin. Is that right?
yes, yep,
He breaks it up by like each chapter is from a different character's point of view. You
correct.
know, kind of like you were talking about with episodes. Like one episode is
Yep,
all about this one character, the next one is completely different in a different,
yep,
completely different, place in on the map.
yep,
Um, so that's pretty cool. I need to get back into it, but Game of Thrones, nice pick.
yeah, yeah.
All right, my number 3 is one that I've read all the way through, and it is my favorite sci-fi novel of
Oh
all
boy,
time. Yeah, got it sitting right over here.
he's got it.
Don't you worry, chat. But that book is by
Oh,
Dune by Frank Herbert.
oh, Frank.
Yep, this is just a tome of amazing sci-fi. The world that that Frank Herbert builds throughout this novel is so expansive. It's so mythological, um, and I love it. It's great. The characters are so intricate, and I'll get it out of the way. I do love both of the movies, Dune and Dune
Okay,
Part Two.
that
I
was going to
love
be
them
my
both.
question.
Yeah, I love them both. Um, and I think the cast is great. Timothy Chalamet is one of my favorite up and coming actors. I'm also a big Bob Dylan fan, so that might be a hint for if we ever do an album ranking.
Ooh,
Big Bob Dylan fan. I think he knocked it out of the park there too. But yes, him as Paul Atreides is great. Yeah, he's great in that part. He really steals the show in part two. It's one of my favorite lead performances in a while. Um, But as much as I love the movies, this book is just is special to me, because and I knew from the get go when I read the book before they announced the movies were going to be made, or maybe I read it, like I heard the announcement that the movie was going to be made, and I thought, "Ooh, I should read that before they come out."
Yeah.
And I don't regret that I did, but it did kind of it kind of the movie fell a little flat just because I had you have to get on a completely different wavelength for the movie than you do the book. When you're reading the book, it's so introspective. So you're always in Paul's head. You're always like there are chapters of just characters' thoughts. Like that's all.
Paul
That's
is the main character.
Paul's the main character. Yeah, Paul
Yeah.
Atreides. And he's kind of dealing with like and if you've seen the movies, you know what I'm talking about. But even the book, it goes even deeper. But he's dealing with like this chosen one type of prophecy, and it gets kind of I mean it gets overtly religious, in the fact that the Fremen that live on this planet of Arrakis, also AKA Dune, they kind of believe that he's this savior based on thousands of years of prophecies that have been building up by basically these cultist witches. Um,
And so he's trying to fill those shoes
he at
or
first,
fulfill that
yeah,
fulfill that prophecy or that expectation.
there's a part of him that thinks maybe he should. There's a part of him that thinks that he definitely should not try to fulfill this prophecy. And there's a part of him that's just wrapped up in everything that's happening, and he can only see one way out of it, and it leads to a lot of death and destruction. And I credit Frank Herbert a lot for, and I think George Lucas credits Frank Herbert a lot for inspiring Star Wars. So that kind of gave me, as a huge Star Wars fan, that kind of gave me some extra juice to get on board with this book. And you can definitely see it with he's I mean Paul is kind of Anakin and Luke rolled into one in a way. Um, but um, but yeah, I love this book. I love and it's so interesting. Like a lot of what Frank Herbert was interested in was like studying um um like I don't know the word for it, but it's like I'm trying to say he's studying like landscapes, like types of land or ecology. Is that right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Ecosystems,
ecosystem.
geography.
Yeah, sort of like that. He was very interested in studying ecosystems, how
Okay.
people affect land and vice
Okay.
versa.
Yep. Yep.
And so it's kind of a big study on that. It's a study on religion and how that affects, people that are indoctrinated into different religions, depending on where they're born. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For sure.
And so it's like I said last week, like I said a couple weeks ago about Blade Runner 2049. Great sci-fi, studies what makes us human, and it does it in a way that's way out there and way fantastical and dresses us up in a crazy way. And that's what Dune does for me, anyways. And so it's one that I do plan to reread, even though as you can see, it's quite it's pretty
Yeah,
thick.
that's thick. For
Yeah,
those of you that aren't watching, that is a thick book.
it's pretty thick. But yeah, it's a great book, and it's my favorite sci-fi book, and so I
There
definitely
you go.
will give it a reread at some point.
Number three,
Number three.
Dune. All right. Dose. What you got?
For my numero dos, I have the King James Bible.
Ooh.
I have the King James Bible. And although I feel like I don't know, I got some different views on the Bible just in general, regardless of the different translations. And like some of my views differ a bit from maybe the people that I grew up with or even my family and friends. But I do think there's no denying that it is a profound work of literature in every sense of the definition. And I am a spiritual person. And so I do carry many of the lessons that I've learned in the Bible about morality and about goodness and sacrifice and responsibility. And I do carry those with me at all times. And so this is definitely a book that has shaped who I am and who I will probably continue to be. So I don't think I could be honest with myself if I didn't have it on this list. So King James Bible, and the only reason I picked King James and not
Yeah,
another, and not yeah,
I'd
and
like to
not
know.
yeah, and not another translation is because I really like um I really like the kind of the poetry of the King James Bible. I think it reminds me a lot of reading some classic English literature that I grew very fond of throughout college. And so the kind of the more I got ingrained with that kind of stuff, the more I kept going back to the King James Bible, which is not the one I mean, yeah, I read it, I've read it growing up, but I kind of grew up on the NIV, I believe, the New
Yeah.
International Version.
Mhm.
And then I also have a copy of the New Oxford Annotated Bible, which is also pretty cool. It's got probably the best footnotes of any Bible that I've read,
Yep.
so that's fun. But the King James, I think, is the greatest work of literature. I think it can stand on its own without being a religious text. It can stand on its own as one of the greatest works of literature in the English language, and so that's
Yeah.
why I chose this version. Is
Yeah.
that it's there's some parts of it that are beautiful to read. So that's what I have. You can put the Bible at number two, but specifically the King James Bible.
Yeah. All right. I also think the King James Bible is probably as close to the Greek language, which is what obviously most of the Bible is written in, Hebrew, Greek, whatever. Um,
Mhm.
I think it's probably the closest to that. I mean,
It's probably. I mean, it might be. It's probably the closest that we have in English, anyways. You know.
yeah, that's what I mean
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
English that we
Yes.
can understand.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, yeah, I like it. My number two, I have read the first of them.
Hmm.
Um, Probably the book that I read the second fastest was the first of this series. And I'm cheating a little bit, but I guess I've kind of cheated on three and five as well. But I chose a series. Um, if you've been taking notes, I've already put Hunger Games, I've already put Lord of the Rings, and I've already put Game of Thrones. So there's really only one that I know of, one major series left, and that's Harry Potter. And so
Nice.
I've got Harry Potter, yep, at number two. I first read um, I read the first one I think when I was in maybe middle school, maybe even younger, and I think that turned me off of Harry Potter because I was like, I don't know what any of this means. This is really nerdy, and I don't really want to keep reading this. And so I didn't tune back in until I was in college. Actually, it was during COVID. I was that bored during COVID that I picked.
COVID did that to all of us. Good Lord.
Yeah, I picked up the Harry Potter book again, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give it another try, and I couldn't put it down. To a fault almost. It's kind of like sitting and just scrolling on your phone and watching maybe YouTube videos or just reading Twitter over and over. That's kind of what I was doing with Harry Potter. I was just sitting there reading this book, not doing anything else. Um, and so I have read the first one. I haven't finished the series. I think I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I
Yeah.
started it and something happened, and dang, I don't have time to read this second book.
Right.
And so I haven't finished it. Have seen a few of the movies. Haven't seen them all. I know what happens just because it's been out for a long time and it's hard to keep spoilers secret for forever. But I know basically the gist of kind of what happens at the end and how the series ends. Um, but it's one of those books that you just can't put down, and I couldn't put it down when I read it. And I actually do have a plan to go back and read them all. I think my sister-in-law um, has all of them, maybe.
Mm.
And so at some point, maybe in the future when I have time. I might go back and try to check out the rest of the Harry Potter series, especially once again. We've said this a few times, but it's got a movie. It's about to have a TV show. It's got a freaking Disney themed Universal park. Like
Right.
that tells you right there that it must be a pretty good series. It might be worth picking up and reading a little bit.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah, so number two for me is Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. That is a great pick.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm with you on the series. I'm about the same place you are on the series. I think I read the first book and maybe some of the second. So I need to get back to it. So
yeah.
as someone that has only seen a couple of the movies but really liked the first book, are you more are you more of a fan of the book here than you are the movies?
Yes, I am. Fun fact about me, I'm not big into child actors.
Ah,
I don't. It's hard to take them serious. It's hard to get past their childness, and that's not being mean. It's just the way children are.
right.
Um, it's hard to take them serious. It's hard to see them as a different character and not just a little kid.
Hmm.
Especially in a movie such as Harry Potter. Like
Right.
they're not little kids in Harry Potter. They're trying to learn how to be wizards and take down this evil demon that is
Right.
killed both of his parents and all this stuff. So I think that's what turned me off of Stranger Things. Going back to our last episode, I haven't seen Stranger Things, but
Mm.
I think I tried to watch it and was like, these kids are just like, this isn't fun to me to watch. It's not entertaining.
Yeah.
It's almost annoying to a fault.
Hmm.
Not to be blunt, but to be blunt, it's almost annoying.
And I
Um,
think it makes it even so much more impressive. Like when you do see a truly great performance from a kid, like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone, you're like here comes this kid out of
yeah.
nowhere, and you're like, whoa, like he's carrying this whole
Hmm.
movie, and he's
Yeah.
hilarious, and
Yeah.
it's so rewatchable. And so it's crazy, and sometimes even like the great kid actors don't have a huge career when they're older, but some of the kid actors end up having a great career, and then it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
weird to see that happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, Harry
Yeah.
Potter.
So number two for me, Harry Potter. I'm definitely a more of a fan of the books, even though I've only read one of the books. I'm already more of a fan of that. The time has come. We are down to our number one. I For those of you that are listening and those of you that know me, you've probably guessed my number one already. I consider myself a very spiritual person as well. By no means am I a perfect person. Never will I get there. There was only one ever. Um, but I use this book to strive to be that way, and fail. I fail pretty often, but thank goodness we have this book that lets us know it's okay that we fail, because there's a superior being that forgives us. Um, so without going too far into depth, we could go on and on about my number one. We would definitely reach our 2 hour time limit if we continued to talk about it. But my number one is the Bible. I can't in good conscience not include it. And I know it's probably like, oh, you brought the Bible to a desert island, good for you. But I'm serious. I don't think I could not take it. It's so full going into our I guess idea of being stranded on a desert island.
Hmm.
The Bible is the one book that might give you some hope and might give you a little
Yeah.
bit of encouragement. Like, oh, maybe there's a little bit at the end of this. Maybe if I don't get captured, or if I not captured, but I don't get rescued, that'll be okay because I know where I'm going. There's hope, there's encouragement, and like you said, it's very. I remember studying it in my freshman year. We studied the parables in English class,
Yeah.
and had to actually like dissect and explain the parables and what did he mean by this and what kind of literature they use in here and grammar, and it was very interesting because it made me realize I have no idea what he's talking about, and so I actually had to sit down and I actually had to study it.
Hmm.
Um, And so that was very eye opening to me. I think that was probably my first time actually like studying the Bible, not just reading it and for a story or listening to a preacher or things like that, but actually sitting down and reading it. I'm actually now currently reading. I don't have it with me, but it's called the Bible Recap, and it's a 365-day read the Bible in a year plan.
Oh, cool.
Um, and so I'm trying to read that every morning. Obviously, not doing it every morning, but doing my best. I think I'm about 160 days in, maybe. Um, and so maybe by the new year I'll have it done. I've always wanted to read the Bible from beginning to end, whether it be in chronological order or whether it be from Genesis to Revelation or whether it be however. I've always wanted to do that, and so the Bible recap. If you're a person who's looking for a way to have a daily devotional, it takes maybe 20 minutes out of my morning. I read 2 to 3, sometimes 4 or 5, depending on the length of them, chapters of the Bible, each morning, and it has a little. You read the chapters first, and then it gives a little 2-page. All right, here's what you just read, and here's how it applies to your life type
That's cool.
thing. So, yeah, it's really helped. It's kind of my daily routine right now. So number one is the Bible. No specific version. I mean, I'm an NIV guy just because that probably is the easiest to read for somebody who's not as smart.
To be fair, if I'm at like if I'm at church or something, I probably will whip out the
Yeah,
NIV just so I can follow along easily.
right,
You know what
exactly. Yeah,
I mean?
yeah. So the Bible,
The Bible, number one, can't
by the
really.
way, the Bible is the number one selling book of all time. So for those of you who are saying, "Oh, you put the Bible at number one," well, check with the rest of the world and see what they have bought before.
All
Because
right.
I guarantee you there's a Bible sitting on a bookshelf somewhere in every person's house or their grandma's house. Shoot, they even got them in hotel rooms. So the Bible is a very popular book, no matter what you may think.
It sure is all around the world. Um, all right. Great pick. And for my
Good
number,
luck beating that, by the way,
yeah,
with your
for my
number one.
number one, it's not the Bible. But
I'm
don't
glad you put it at
stress me
two.
now, Lloyd.
I beat you. I put it at number one. Smite him, O mighty smiter.
Right, yeah. All right. But for my number one, um, in an effort to not mince words about this author that I hold in such high esteem, I thought again I would read a little excerpt.
Yes,
Um,
please do.
but it's a general introduction to this author from a scholar actually, and it begins with a quote, and the quote is this: "He was not of an age, but for all time." There are writers whose greatness, end quote, by the way. There are writers whose greatness is recognized only long after they have vanished from the earth. There are writers championed by a coterie of devoted followers who tend the flame of admiration against the cold world's indifference. There are writers beloved in their native land but despised abroad, and others neglected at home yet celebrated on distant shores. Shakespeare is none of these. His genius was recognized almost immediately. The famous words with which we have begun were written by his friend and rival Ben Jonson. They have been echoed innumerable times across the centuries, across national and linguistic boundaries, across the demarcation lines of race and class, religion and ideology. Shakespeare belongs not simply to a particular culture, which was English culture of the late 16th and early 17th centuries, but to world culture, the dense network of constraints and entitlements, dreams and practices that help us that help to make us fully human. I'm almost done. Indeed, so absolute. Indeed, so absolute is Shakespeare's achievement that he has himself come to seem like great creating nature. His works embody the imagination's power to transcend time bound beliefs and assumptions, particular historical circumstances, and specific artistic conventions. If we should ever be asked as a species, to bring forward one artist who most fully expressed the human condition, we could with confidence elect Shakespeare to speak for us. As it is, when we do ask ourselves the most fundamental questions about life, about love and hatred, ambition, desire, and fear, the demand for justice and the longing for a second chance, we repeatedly turn to Shakespeare for the words we wish to hear. And that was an introduction from Stephen Greenblatt as part of the Shakespeare and the Norton Shakespeare anthology. But for my number one, I have the complete works of Shakespeare, and that might be a little bit of a cop out. But I do have it all as one book, so if I could just pack that in a bag and take it to a desert island, I would do that.
There you
Um,
go.
but
So rattle off a few.
yeah,
I
so
mean,
so Hamlet is probably the
yeah.
greatest, is in my opinion maybe the greatest work of art ever written in the English language alongside the King James Bible. To Be or Not to Be is known basically to, that is known basically to the entire world, and it's
Yep.
it's a soliloquy about a man, wrestling with his own mortality and contemplating suicide, which is
Uh-huh.
crazy that everyone just knows what that is.
Yep.
And then, of course, no two young lovers have ever expressed their passion for one another in a truer fashion than Romeo and Juliet.
Yep.
And then another one, as Americans, I think we can certainly relate to the allure of ambition and influence, and how those things can corrupt so easily, just as they corrupted Macbeth. And those are just the most popular examples. There's there's
Yep.
there's tons of stuff in a deep dive that you could do. I mean, he wrote comedies, he wrote tragedies, he wrote history plays, and also some of the most beautiful poetry of all time with his sonnets. I think he's the master of the English language, and of course his name is synonymous with greatness. And I think when people ask, like, a lot of people ask, especially as an English teacher, you get this question a lot. Why should we read, um, basically, why should we read the literary canon? In other words, why should we read what humanity as a whole has considered to be great, and that we should teach it in schools, and that we should pass it down or whatever, and that we should, do endless productions of it. What they're really asking, I think, is why do we have to read Shakespeare? Um,
Correct.
right, and I don't know if I can answer that question fully in the brief time that I have here on the Yada Yada podcast.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that the older I get, the more, when I come across that question, um, it sounds, for me, it sounds the same as someone asking, like, why should we eat food that nourishes our body? Why should we eat food that tastes good, or listen to great music, or exercise, or scratch, our heads in amazement at the seven wonders of the world? You know what I mean? Why, and it's because it's something that is uniquely available to us as humans to experience. Why watch Steph Curry shoot a three pointer, or Dirk shoot a fadeaway, or Jordan float in the air? Is because they're not just putting balls in holes. And just like Shakespeare wasn't just putting words in a page, they're creating something greater than themselves, and greater than the medium that they're operating in. So greater than basketball, or greater than just literature itself. So, like, and I think when a creator of art like that transcends their time and their place, and starts to become immortal, like those people have, and like Shakespeare has, no matter the art form, I think there's a reason for that. And I think, that whether we realize that we're part of it or not, that humanity as a whole has kind of taken Shakespeare and said, this is kind of the great among greats in the English language, and we're going to keep him alive for every generation to come. And that has been the case since the 1600s. After his death in the early 1600s, he has endured. His work has endured, and I'd bet my life that there's a Shakespeare production happening somewhere around the world as we speak right now. Just because that's how great he was. I am also always reading him. Even if I'm like right now, or earlier this year, I talked about starting the Lord of the Rings, and I'm still working on it. But I paired that with A Midsummer's Night Dream, just because they're both great fantasy, and so I thought I'd reread Midsummer's Night's Dream and read Lord of the Rings along with it. And that was a cool experience. Or you can pair it with a play or a sonnet. And I also, and maybe embarrassingly, but I also have a good bit committed to memory, so he's kind of always with me. Yeah. And I think he has something for everyone. And no matter how far removed you think that you might be from him, or how or how unapproachable you think some of his works are, because of the language that has aged quite a bit, I think I can guarantee that he's impacted your life in more ways than one, in some way. You know what I mean? And I'm not just talking about your English teacher forcing it down your throat in high school or college. Um, Kids know the plot of Hamlet because they've seen The Lion King, and it's just he's so ingrained in our pop culture that you don't even recognize it anymore. I don't think there's a lot of kids watching Lion King that know that it's taken from Hamlet.
Right.
And so I think he's just a part of our culture. He invented tons of words in the English language that we do still say today, and phrases that we don't know he invented, but we say. And also, lastly, I would just like to give a quick shout out to my professor in college, Matthew Harrison. He was a professor of mine at I think he's like head of like Shakespearean studies or something at West Texas A&M. Go Buffs! But he gave by far the greatest lectures that I've been a part of. And he really made me step back and think, like, why is this brilliant dude, like, he graduated from Princeton, he's super smart. I had to really think to myself, like, why did he dedicate his life to teach young people about Shakespeare, and why is he so passionate while he's doing it? And I didn't get that at first. And so that was kind of my inciting incident for my curiosity and love for Shakespeare, that seed that he planted in college, and it only continues to grow. So that is my number one, the complete works of Shakespeare. Like, if I had to pick one, I'd pick Hamlet, but complete works will do. Thank you.
Yeah, that's bravo. That was not gonna lie, that was pretty awesome what I just listened to. I was zoned in right there with your little spill right there.
Nice. Yeah.
I've always seriously I wondered that. Why are we, and as a teacher myself, I wonder a lot of the things. Why are we teaching these kids these things? They don't care. They're
Yeah.
right when they say I'm never going to use this.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But the way you put it is good. I mean, because it's greatness, because it's things that we need to continue to use in our life. We do use it. We've, like you just said, we've seen it in movies, and we hear it in culture and and things like that. So that was definitely a good way to put it. I've obviously never thought of it that way because I've never cared enough to think of it that way.
Yeah.
And everybody, I like that I like that everybody is different in our world. You talked about your professor and how he's so passionate about Shakespeare. I'm glad he is. I'm glad there's people out there that like that stuff. Because I'm sure there's people out there that think, why do you dedicate your life to the
Right.
sport of basketball? Or
Right. Right.
why do you dedicate your life to a being that you've never seen or you think rose from the dead? Why, I don't get that. Why do you do that? And so
Right.
that just shows the beauty of humanity, I think. And so that was a great way to close out our top five books right there.
There we
Um,
go.
Closed out our top five books by books.
Nice.
I had to get another one in there. All right,
I've heard that one.
yeah, right. So we get it. We probably left out somebody's favorite book. We
I'm sure.
didn't cover every book ever written. It's not possible. But that's the beauty of books, and that's the beauty of opinions, and that's the beauty of this podcast. We can ramble on, and have our own opinions from people who probably, in my opinion, are on two different ends of the spectrum when it comes to literature and reading and things like that. So that's
we
the
did have
beauty
the
of it.
same number 5, so we
did. That's impressive. We both had a Bible in there, so that's good too.
True. Yeah.
So whether you're a classic person, a Shakespeare, Moby Dick classic person, or you're a more modern writing for the dark horses novel series person like myself, here's what matters. You're reading. I truly think reading is very important. As a teacher, I think reading, you don't get the same appeal. You don't get the same brain waves moving. You don't get the same thought processes if you're just watching something. I think reading is far more valuable than watching. It makes you think.
I think it also really exercises your attention span, which is something that even, I mean, especially our generation, but even lower than our generation, is just getting worse and worse and worse.
Correct.
And so I think it's a good exercise for your attention span, and that is something we desperately need if we're not going to be bored out of our mind for our entire lives. As
speaking in the mirror right there. I'm looking at myself talking about attention span. It's very easy to change the channel quickly, or to scroll to the next video, or to just stop listening when somebody's trying to have a conversation with you. And
that's why we have these hour-and-a-half long podcasts, because we're working on your attention span.
Yeah. Well, if you're still with us, let me tell you, you've got a pretty good attention span. Kudos to you. If you were able to sit through all hour and 15 minutes of that, then you're doing all right. You can stop reading.
Right.
So this has been Yada Yada. Thanks for flipping pages with us today, and we'll catch you next time.
See y'all later.